Okay, excellent. Well, again, thank you to everyone who is here for today's wage subsidy info session for employers. My name is Leila Bonner. I am the Employer Relations Assistant here at the Career Development Center at KPU. We're so glad you could join us to learn a little bit about one of the great funding partners that has funding available for employers wanting to hire students. I'm just going to go ahead and do a little bit of housekeeping, give a little bit of information out before we jump into our main presentation. And before we get into all of that, I'm just going to go ahead and do a territorial acknowledgement. So here at KPU, we work, study, and live in a region south of the Fraser River, which overlaps with the unceded traditional and ancestral lands of the Kwantlen, Musqueam, Katzie, Semiahmoo, Tsawwassen, Kaikite, and Coquitlam peoples. KPU takes its name from the Kwantlen First Nation. Proudly sharing the name of this First Nation, the word Kwantlen means tireless runner and is reflected in the university's motto, which is through tireless effort, knowledge, and understanding. All right, so today we're going to be talking about one of the many wage subsidies available to employers, but just in case there are some people on the call who might not have a lot of knowledge regarding what wage subsidies are, we're just going to go through a little bit of information on them, as well as what cooperative education is, which relates to this wage subsidy conversation. So much like you might assume, wage subsidies help employers cover the salary cost of bringing on staff. This is sometimes done through a grant. This is sometimes done through a tax credit, but more or less it's providing funding in some way, whether through giving back of funding or new funding to subsidize the cost of wages. Each wage subsidy has its own independent criteria and eligibility requirements, regardless of if multiple subsidies receive funding from the same source. This might sound a little bit confusing, but basically what it means is that each wage subsidy has its own kind of requirements. That's pretty straightforward. But even if you have multiple subsidies who receive funding from the same place, they will also have their own requirements. For example, the federal government's Student Work Placement Program, which provides funding to, I think, around 15 to 18 different organizations, it is the same amount of funding given to each of these organizations in terms of how much can go to employers. However, each organization has its own additional criteria per its specific funding. So you'll find that while some things may be similar between wage subsidies, they'll each have their own kind of unique touches on what they need from employers and the people that they're hiring. With regards to the subsidies that we are covering through this information session, those subsidies are external to KPU and can be put towards the wage costs of hiring specifically a post-secondary student in part or in full. So we're really honing in on wage subsidies that can go towards students, whether that's a co-op student or a regular student. You might also find some in here that can also just go towards youth in general. Youth is usually defined as people between 15 and 30, or at least according to the federal government. But all these wage subsidies can be put towards hiring students, and we hope hiring students from KPU. Finally, many of the wage subsidies that we're going to be covering in this series are for students specifically in work and learning arrangements, with a key look at cooperative education. And if this is the first time you're learning about work and learning or co-op, then this is perfect because we're going to get into it really quickly right now. So for those who are not sure what co-op is or haven't heard of it before, or work and learning is the umbrella term for what co-op falls under. So work and learning is defined as a form of curricular experiential education that formally integrates students' academic studies with quality experiences within a workplace or practice setting. So to boil that all down, it's basically when a student is able to get some work experience in the field they're going to go into at the same time as when they're actually enrolled at university or taking academic courses. Co-op is one of these different forms of work and learning. Work and learning also includes apprenticeships, internships, can include some practicums, and then there's a whole other handful of types that are also considered work and learning. But for right now, we're just focusing on cooperative education. Cooperative education allows employers to hire students for 4, 8, or 12 months of work within the student's field of study. You'll find that this is pretty similar across universities because certain requirements for what co-op looks like have to be met in order for universities to be accredited, or their co-op programs given the red seal of approval and being somewhat standardized. So here at KPU, students need 12 months of work experience overall to graduate with their designation, and all of our co-op jobs align with KPU's academic terms. So falling from the spring terms, January to April, the summer term, May to August, or with the fall term from September to December. The last thing I'll mention about co-op is that there's no added cost for employers to hire co-op students. When I say added cost, I don't mean in that it doesn't cost money to hire a student, because these are paid work experiences. So that's why we're talking about wage subsidies in the first place. But there's no additional fee to take part in a program outside of offering the student a job. We love to bring on new co-op employers. We encourage employers to consider student hiring, and we want to make this as easy as possible for you to get involved. So that's just a brief overview about cooperative education. You'll notice on the right-hand side of the slide, I have a tile for our co-op info sessions for employers. That's another online series that we do on a monthly basis. We have our next one coming up in about 3 weeks, I believe. And it's a series where you can attend for free and learn a little bit more about what co-op is in depth, how it works for students, how it works for employers, and what we think the benefits are overall. So for those who are interested in that, I'll be sending out a follow-up email after today's event with some more information. But just so you know it exists, we've got that tile up there. Right. So today's funding partner, as hopefully you're all aware, is the Canadian Agricultural Human Resources Council. We're very excited to have them present on their funding source, which is the AgriTalent SWIP program, and they'll tell you all about that. But just a couple of notes before I turn it over to their representative today. As mentioned at the beginning of our meeting, please keep yourself on mute for the duration of the presentation to avoid distracting noise. We want to make sure that everyone else on this call, in addition to yourselves, are able to hear what's happening and take down all the amazing information we're going to hear from our presenter. So out of respect, please keep yourself on mute, and please hold on to your questions until the Q&A portion of the event, or put them in the chat for review. We'll jump into Q&A as soon as the presentation's over, so we'll definitely have time to get to all of your questions, but just so that we don't lose track of them, and so that you can keep them on your mind as well, just hold on to them until then, or pop them in the chat. Finally, if you're interested in hiring students or learning more about what recruitment looks like through KPU and how you can actually put these funding subsidies into practice, we'd love to connect with you. So you can reach out to us via email or via phone, whatever works best for you. And we'll also include our contact information in follow-up emails that are sent out. Now, I have talked already for a couple minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our wonderful presenter. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen here. Nadie, if you want to go ahead and share your screen, and then we will give you the floor, and you can go ahead and get started.
Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, it looks like you might just need to make it full screen, but yes, we can see what you're sharing.
I'm trying to do that, yeah.
There you go, perfect.
Yes, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nadie, and I am the CAHRC representative today, talking about our student wage placement program, which is a government funding. On our part, we call it Growing Opportunities. So I'm the program manager for this wage subsidy program, and I would be very today, as well as answer any questions that you may have. So as I mentioned, it's a student wage subsidy for work integrated learning. So as Leila was just mentioning, that this wage subsidy is particularly for hiring students who are in a work integrated learning arrangement. So internships, co-op, practicums, anything, or even if it's like a project-based work, that is eligible, but apprentices are not. So I will just move on to my next slide, which is about like who is eligible. Like as an employer, we often receive like, are we eligible for this? So any employer working in the agriculture space can avail this funding opportunity. What this opportunity, so when we talk about agriculture employers, there is often a little bit of, I would say, gray area. So let me break it down a little bit. So agriculture employers to us would be anyone starting from primary agriculture to food processing to dealerships, or anyone who is supporting the agriculture industry. We also provide or extend this wage subsidy to organizations who are not generally agricultural, but are there to provide maybe a one-off support implement a one-off project in the agriculture space. So I'll just give an example of, say, a drone company who usually just manufactures drones, but have a project where they are producing drones to help support the Cattlemen Association of Canada. In that case, if they hire a student to support that particular project, they would be also considered an agricultural employer. And so they would be able to apply for such funding. We have had multiple such applications coming in from the industry, where especially in the ag tech space and precision agriculture space, where these are startup companies who have been working in tech and have want to make a small contribution in the agriculture industry, and we are very open to that. So, and how much is available is another very important question. So, according to so this came in effect after the COVID. And so you can get up to $5,000 for each net new placement, and up to 70% or $7,000 for hiring a student from an underrepresented group. So, what includes an underrepresented groups? I have mentioned here. It's women who are in STEM, Indigenous students, visual minorities, newcomers to Canada, person with disabilities, and first-year students. I will just come on to the what it means by net new placement, but before that, so most employers would be eligible to up to $5,000 for each placement, each term. So what this funding has the flexibility of hiring a student for 2 consecutive terms. So if you are hiring a student over 2 consecutive terms, that means you can get up to $5,000 for each term. So say summer and then fall. So 5,000 for summer and 5,000 for fall, based on the percentage, like 50% of the wages, up to 5,000. So we started providing this subsidy in fall 2021. So it was a post-COVID recovery mechanism from the government. And so this is our 5th term. We are just ending our winter 2023 session, and it's the 5th term. So it was not too long ago that we started, but we have had great response from the industry. We have been working with so many employers of different kinds. As I was mentioning, we have had like normal day-to-day farms, ranchers, wineries, ag tech companies, precision agriculture companies, greenhouses, horticulture, and nurseries, even some food to like farm to table kind of restaurants or institutions who are producing their own produce and then serving it on the table. So we have really had a very good mix of employers. As of date, we have applications from 188 employers and are in the process of processing 425 placements so far. And many of these employers are repeat customers, I would say, which means that they have hired students through this program and were really impressed with everything, the arrangement, and they have been repeating their funding applications in summer and also in different other terms like fall and winter. We have around 600 employers registered with us. So not all of them have made their applications, but we just know, we're happy to know that there are 600 plus employers who know that we exist and have registered with us so that they can avail this opportunity at the best moment. So far, we have paid out 1.3 million in subsidies, which is a great amount, I would say, given that we have only been operating for 2 years now. What I was mentioning, so who do we have already connected with and who are, excuse me, who are already our customers? So we have primary growers, horticultural, livestock, poultry, tech, aquaculture. So I would say it's a great blend of employers that we have. As Leila was again mentioning, that who is eligible, everyone has their own set of rules and regulations as to who is eligible. So for us, I think we have kept it pretty straightforward. For us, as an employer, any registered Canadian business or even nonprofit organizations from the agriculture industry are eligible to apply. So if you are a small business, a big business, and have anything to do or support the agriculture industry, you are most welcome to apply for this funding. Even if you are a nonprofit organization, an industry association, a commodity group, representative organization, you are still eligible to apply for this funding. Another question we often get is, are we able to stack the fundings? Yes, you are able to stack fundings. If you are getting provincial funding, municipal funding, you can stack them with this funding, but not if you're getting another federal funding. All of this information is available on our website. Leela would be sending you a follow-up email. I would be very happy to provide all those links to you, and you can get all those details there. And so, in terms of eligibility, student eligibility is a big concern. And we really want to make sure that employers know well ahead, like what is expected of the students to be eligible for the funding, so that when they apply, they are more or less guaranteed the funding. So, employers can hire students from ag background as well as non-agricultural programs. But definitely, it would have to be a work integrated learning arrangement, and students have to be Canadian citizens or permanent residents. International students are not eligible for this program, unfortunately, but they can be in a full time or a part time program, even certificate programs, diplomas, all of that is eligible. The easiest way we recommend employers to come or to select their students is through a co-op program or internship program. So if you are really willing to hire a student and then be assured that you are in the right track, it is best to go to your nearest post-secondary institution and check with them that what kind of co-op or internship program they have. So if you're coming through KPU, we would know for sure that these students are eligible, and it would be a very easy and fast process for us as well as for you in terms of time. This is like when to apply. I mentioned here yesterday because our applications are accepted on a rolling basis, so it's first come first served basis. We have 3 terms in a year: winter, summer, and fall. Right now we are just completing our winter term. We are already accepting applications for summer 2023. We have around 200 placements to fill. We are getting a lot of applications. It's not even April, and I think we have got around 70 to 80 applications, which so they're also waiting to hire students for the summer, but they have already made their application in advance so that they can hold the spot. So that's a good way to go about it if you really think that you're going to hire a student in summer but are still in the process of looking and finding the right fit. But it is still a good idea to maybe apply first and hold your spot while you look for the student. So this slide would give you, I would say, a rough idea about what are your time commitments and what you can expect from us. So the funding application and everything regarding this wage subsidy is paperless. So everything needs to be done through a portal. The link would be shared with you shortly after this webinar. So it's a platform called the Magnet platform. We have our dedicated link where you can directly land on our page and apply for the funding. So applying for funding includes setting up your own employer profile, which is a very, very basic details about your business, and then just providing details on the type of job that you are looking for, like for the funding. So this whole process, including setting up your account and then applying for the funding, takes around 30 minutes. And so then once we receive your application, it takes us not more than 7 days to confirm you that as an employer, you're eligible for this program. Now, 7 days is the maximum. Usually you would hear from us within 2 to 3 days. Then after the employer eligibility is met and confirmed, we do ask them to send us back signed terms and conditions that confirms that they are willing to participate in this program. Once we receive that, we get in touch with the student and then receive their proof of enrollment. So this is the only proof that we require in order to make the decision of like whether the student is eligible. So if they can provide a letter from the university about their co-op placement, or like if this is the work term, then we just go ahead and say, yes, this is a go. Please finish the placement. And after you finish the placement, send us the first and last pay stub that you have paid to the student, along with a gross salary summary. And we then calculate the wage subsidy amount and send you an invoice. So all that gross salary summary template, invoice, everything is prepared by us and sent to you. So you can just fill in the details and send it back with your signature. Once that is done, we will electronically transfer the fund to you. We do say again a maximum of 45 days, but we do not take so long. It is usually done within, I would say, 2 business weeks at max. So 14 to 15 days. So that's a very low time commitment, I would say, in terms of the amount of money that is available to employers. So say 30 minutes in the beginning and another 30 minutes over the entire application process, and then you get to get the subsidy. And we have been working on a very, I would say, we are not one of those big SWIFT providers. So we have that opportunity or the availability to cater to our customers on a one-to-one basis. So if at any point in the application you're having an issue, you can always call us, email us, and we do one-to-one troubleshooting, which I think has been really appreciated by the industry over the last few terms. So here this is just a few testimonials from people who have accessed our subsidy and were very happy with the service that they got. I won't go through them; it's there. And after this presentation, we will share a PDF version of this whole presentation with you, and I hope you will go through these testimonials then. I have come to the end of my presentation. So thank you so much for hearing me out and coming and joining us today. We will be really happy if we can support you in your hiring a summer student, and also over fall or winter whenever it's most convenient. I have included my email address here. So at any point, if you have any question, please feel free to contact me, and I will be sharing all the important links with you over an email after this and along with this presentation. So even if you want to go through those and then get in touch with me, please feel free. And now I think over to Leila, and I would be very happy to answer any question that you may have.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that great presentation. Lots of excellent information shared. Now that we have concluded the presentation portion, we'll just jump straight into questions and answers. You're welcome to pop them in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we can call on people one-on-one. But we'll just give people a moment to collect their thoughts. Maybe while people are just getting themselves ready to go and thinking of their excellent questions, maybe I'll just ask for a couple of points of clarification, maybe just to make sure that everything's been covered off on. You've mentioned hiring students through particular programs at universities, but can you confirm for this particular funding subsidy, do students that are hired have to be a part of a specific work and learning opportunity, or can you hire them from just like any student wanting to take on like a regular temporary job or a regular student job?
No, so this program is for students who are part of a work integrated learning. So so students must demonstrate that they have a work term, or they have somehow are taking up this because or in relation to a program, like in
Okay.
connection to any program. I know this is a question that we receive often and something we have highlighted to ESDC that sometimes there are students who are interested to just learn from getting a job, and they want to just take up an opportunity to increase their experience, and that should really be included in this program, but we do not have a concrete feedback from them on this yet.
All right, awesome. I see a question put in the chat by Magda, which says, would forestry students be eligible to apply for agricultural funding?
Yes, we have had applications from lumber companies and them. So yes, we do consider that they are part of agriculture.
Okay, excellent. I do see one event-related question asking, is there another speaker to come? We focus on one funding partner per event. So today is really focusing on the CAHRC and their Agri-Talent program. But each session that we are running for this series will be on a different partner. So you're welcome to check out what our offerings are going forward and who our future presenters are. It'll be probably on a different sector. One question I'll just run by you, Nidhi. Also, we've talked a lot about the Agri-Talent program, but I'd love to learn a little bit about what the Canadian Agricultural Human Resources Council actually is, like what its focus is, because we find that a lot of the funding subsidies that we're going to be discussing in future events are often very much influenced by the organization that is offering them. They're very industry based. So maybe you could just provide a brief bit of information about what the CAHRC does.
Okay, so the Canadian Agriculture Human Resource Council is the place, it is the sector council for all human resource issues that the agriculture industry faces. So a lot of our work revolves around research, labor market information, and also consulting for different commodity groups or even industry associations. So we have a few, I would say, elements to our organization. So while I run the agri-talent program, I have my colleague who does all the HR and training activities. So we do have like training modules. We have like we are starting micro credential programs with other institutions. So just upskilling and reskilling people so that they are better fitted for the industry and the changing industry, I would say. We also have a very big, I would say, yeah, it's a sizable amount of research done. We are working on the national workforce strategy for the food and beverage industry and agriculture industry together. We are also doing the labor market update information. So often commodity groups and the whole industry actually looks at us for the labor market information, compensation, wages, and all those HR issues. And we have been doing it pretty regularly over the past few years. There was a break due to COVID when we couldn't do it in 2000. The last was in 2019. So we are again doing it this year so that the industry has the information it needs to make more solid decisions. And we just got funding approved by the agriculture minister through ESDC. It's a big funding. It's a post-COVID recovery measure. So it will cover like a lot of the work done with the indigenous people. And then it will cover a lot of training, micro credentials, and improving the HR aspects of the industry.
Awesome. Thanks for all that information. I see another question in the chat from Magda, which says, would there be a limited co-op term that would be eligible? We sometimes have 4-month or sometimes 8-month contracts for students. I'm assuming what the question is regarding if the amount of funding is limited to how much time the student is working with you for it. Maybe you can provide some clarification on that.
So as I mentioned during my presentation, that we do offer funding for 2 consecutive terms. So there is no minimum or minimum amount of time that a student has to work for this program. So it could be a part-time position where they're working one term but part-time, so the number of hours doesn't really matter. And you can also apply for 2 consecutive terms. I know some delivery partners have restrictions on that, but we don't do that. So
Okay.
if someone has a contract for 8 months, you can apply for 2 consecutive terms.
Okay, excellent. One of my last questions for you is one point that has come up before with SWIP program providers is it's not clear sometimes what kind of job duty students are allowed to do more or less with that funding, like what's considered eligible for a student job. So maybe you can give me just some clarification here for the group. When you're hiring on a student, as long as you are a agriculture adjacent company, is there any restrictions on what the student job actually is or what it does,
No.
like what the student's actually working on?
No, this is very open. It is for everyone, I would say. We have farm hands, which I would say is the most common job placement that we get. But we also do, we also have like placements like cheesemaker. Very interesting. Like you would get someone to work for that, like an intern for cheese making. But it's also not limited to that. Like we have many agriculture businesses employing, say, a student social media content creator, right? So maybe they want some boost to their business and they don't have that resource internally, so they hire a student for a term and who has a business background needs to do an internship and they do it at a farm. So, and then students from science background, like if it's like ag tech company and they want a student to work on a particular technology, they have a student come in. So it doesn't matter which background they're from and what post they're getting in, as long as they are helping support the industry.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you very much for that. I'll just give it a minute to see if there are any other questions that'll come through the chat or if people want to raise their hands. So we'll just pause for a second here, let people collect their thoughts. Okay. I am not seeing anything come through the chat, so I think what we'll do is we'll just consider ourselves having been given the gift of time, and we will wrap up a little early today. To everyone who has attended, just to reiterate what's been already said, we will be sending out a follow-up email in the days to come with today's presentation as a PDF, as well as some helpful links and information that relates back to this wage subsidy. So if you are wanting to learn more, we'll be including contact information and all that info for your benefit. So you can keep your eyes open for that. But aside from that, we just want to say a huge thank you to Nadie for presenting today and for providing so much great information on the AgriTalent SWIP program. Hopefully this has been educational and helpful. And if you have any questions about the program, you're welcome to reach out to her. We'll include her contact info. And if you have any questions about hiring students as well, we would love to chat with you further and are happy to set up a call or individual meeting to do so. But for today, we will consider things done. Thank you so much for attending, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.